The cameras captured luxury, laughter, and a life of success. But off-screen, investigators say it was all built on lies. Reality TV stars Wendy and Eddie Osefo, known for their polished image and picture-perfect lifestyle, are now facing shocking accusations of insurance fraud and deception. Prosecutors claim the couple staged a fake burglary, filed false police reports, and tried to cash in on inflated insurance claims worth tens of thousands of dollars, all while the world watched their rise to fame on television. From the spotlight of the Real Housewives to the cold glare of a criminal courtroom, this is a story of how one of reality TV's most admired couples became the center of a financial scandal that stunned fans and left investigators asking, was their glamorous life real or an elaborate illusion? To understand how it all unraveled, we have to go back, before the flashing lights, before the designer clothes, before the word fraud ever entered the picture. This story didn't begin with a crime scene. It began with ambition. The kind of ambition that drives people to climb higher, to build names, and to chase success at any cost. Wendy Osefo was once celebrated as a symbol of intellect and determination, an immigrant's daughter who rose from humble beginnings to become a respected professor, political commentator, and reality TV star. But behind the academic titles, the social media perfection, and the cameras of the Real Housewives, another story was quietly taking shape, one filled with pressure, money, and decisions that would eventually lead to public humiliation and criminal charges. This is how it all began. Wendy and Eddie Osefo arrived in the United States as a child, the daughter of immigrants who believed in education, hard work, and second chances. From the moment she learned English and stepped into classrooms here, she carried with her the quiet determination of someone intent on making the most of opportunity. Her parents emphasized schooling and discipline. Those lessons rooted her career and public persona. Wendy's academic path was remarkable. She pursued one degree after another, building a rare combination of scholarship and public engagement. In the academic world, she found purpose, research that addressed inequalities, advocacy for students, and a career that blended teaching with civic work. Her focus on education, community development, and equity became the through line of a life that, to many, read like an underdog success story. As her professional profile rose, Wendy also built a public brand. She became a commentator, a speaker, and eventually a familiar face beyond academia when she joined the cast of a high-profile reality television series. On screen, she presented as confident and articulate, a woman who could hold her ground in debates and command attention with measured arguments. Fans and critics alike recognize her not only for the glamour of reality TV, but for the unusual combination of intellectual gravitas and the sparkle of celebrity. Her husband, Eddie, was a partner in both family life and the couple's more public ventures. He worked in law and business. While less a public figure than Wendy, his presence was integral to the household's image. Together they raised a family in Maryland, projecting a life of accomplishment, an academic, a lawyer, a well-appointed home, and the sort of lifestyle that read well on screens and social feeds. But success brings scrutiny. As the Osefos' public visibility increased, so did the eyes on their possessions, their home, and their social media. In the world of reality television, presentation is currency. Designer accessories, elaborate vacations, and the impression of ease are part of performance. For many stars, that performance is genuine. For some, the maintenance of that image can become burdensome. For the Osefos, the gap between appearance and reality would soon become central to a legal inquiry that stunned fans and observers. In the spring of one year, while the Osefo family was traveling abroad, they reported a home burglary. The story, at first, followed a familiar arc, a sudden violation, the theft of valuables, and the trauma of having a private space invaded. The couple said that jewelry, designer handbag, electronics, and other high-value items were missing. The report prompted sympathy and the immediate practical steps families take after such a violation: police notifications, insurance claims, and urgent conversations about security. At the time, the narrative fit easily into media cycles. A prominent TV personality and her family victimized on vacation is a simple human story and a cautionary one. Yet the follow-up investigation began to reveal details that did not align cleanly with the initial report. Investigators and later reporting would point to several discrepancies. Security systems that many would expect to capture a forced entry door sensors, motion-activated cameras, and alarm logs did not show the kinds of disturbance typical of a brazen burglary. In some cases, deliveries and normal activity were captured on video, but the critical moment of theft lacked supporting footage. That absence raised the first question. Then came the anomalies related to the items themselves. Records began to show that several items listed as stolen had been returned to retailers before the claimed date of the burglary, or had been purchased and refunded in ways inconsistent with the timeline. Photos on social media and posts by the couple or close associates showed some of the same kinds of luxury goods after the date of the alleged theft. These images became a kind of inadvertent ledger, evidence of possession at times that contradicted statements about loss. Insurance claim filings raised another red flag. Multiple forms, sometimes across different insurers, listed overlapping items or reported values that investigators later said were inflated. The claim totals ranged widely depending on which documents were cited, and as investigators parsed purchase receipts, return slips, and receipts of reimbursement, the narrative of a simple burglary blurred into a tangle of inconsistencies. These anomalies prompted a deeper examination. Were the inconsistencies a collection of honest mistakes, sloppy record-keeping, and confusions of busy lives? Or did they point to a pattern of misreporting and possibly deliberate deception? That question would push investigators from curiosity into a formal criminal inquiry. As investigators assembled records and compared statements to physical evidence, the scope of the inquiry widened. Detectives traced return receipts, cross-checked social media timelines, and examined insurance documentation for signs of duplicate or overlapping claims. The more pieces they collected, the more coherent a prosecutorial theory became, that instead of single theft, there may have been multiple actions, returns, reimbursements, overstatements, that culminated in claims to insurers and a formal police report. Months of investigation led to a decisive moment. The couple was arrested and formally charged with a series of offenses involving fraud and making false statements. The list of counts included felony-level charges tied to insurance fraud and allegations that false or misleading information had been presented to law enforcement and insurers. The total value under scrutiny, aggregated across the various claims and items, approached a figure that shocked many who had followed the family's public life. When the arrests were announced, reactions split. Some fans and co-stars expressed disbelief, insisting the Osefos were victims of overzealous reporting or misunderstanding. Others, who had noticed prior social media inconsistencies or had closely followed investigative updates, felt vindicated. Certain threads that had once seemed like small oddities now fit into a far larger pattern. In the days after the arrests, additional reporting amplified the legal contours, bond amounts, procedural filings, and the details of counts. The couple was released on bond, each posting amounts that allowed them to return home while the legal process moved forward. But release did not mean reprieve. Court filings, prosecutors' assertions, and public commentary ensured that the story would remain in the spotlight. Public perception hardened quickly for a reality television cast, where viewers feel they know the personalities intimately through cameras and social feeds. Allegations of fabricated loss and insurance manipulation felt especially jarring. The crime, if proven, would be not only a legal violation but a breach of trust, a contradiction between the image of honesty and the reality of alleged deception. The couple's legal team pushed back, arguing that the case involved misinterpretations, clerical errors, and a failure to appreciate the complexity of household purchases and returns. They asserted that some items were indeed stolen, that mistakes in timing could be explained, and that intent to defraud was not proven. The defense emphasized the importance of presuming innocence while pointing to alternative explanations for the troubling documents. Yet the prosecution's narrative relied on pattern and motive. It argued that multiple returns, duplicate claims, and social media evidence combined to show intent to mislead insurers and to make false statements to authorities. That argument framed the case as one not a single error, but of repeated choices that resulted in financial gain. The legal process from that point became a battleground of paperwork, testimony, and expert analysis. Investigators and attorneys exchanged document lists. Depositions would test memories and timelines. The case would require courts to parse whether discrepancies amounted to criminal intent or to a messy accounting of luxury purchasing, a distinction that lay at the heart of the matter. Beyond the courtroom, the case raised broader questions about celebrity, image, and the pressures of public life. Reality television, social media, and influencer culture create an economy in which appearance and luxury are not just personal choices, but career currency. For cast members whose visibility depends on showing a certain lifestyle, maintaining appearances can be demanding. Those pressures intersect with real financial obligations, mortgages, tuition, travel, and the cost of remaining relevant. The Osefo case forced a public conversation about that intersection. Was this an instance of individuals succumbing to the strain of image maintenance, a lapse in judgment magnified by celebrity? Or was it deliberate manipulation of systems designed to help victims of real burglary and theft? The answer would determine not only legal outcomes, but reputational ones as well. If convictions were to follow, the consequences would be significant. Financial restitution, potential prison sentences, and long-term reputational damage would be likely results of a guilty verdict. For Wendy, an academic and public intellectual, the fallout could affect professional appointments, speaking opportunities, and the trust of colleagues and students. For Eddie, the legal and financial implications could extend to business interests and professional affiliations. Even absent conviction, the case already affected relationships within the cast, among fans, and at work. Television producers and networks often respond to legal controversies by altering editing, delaying broadcasts, or reassessing casting decisions. Colleagues and sponsors consider association risks. Friends and family contend with the social strain of public scrutiny. There are human costs, too. The couple's children and extended family found themselves in the glare of tabloids and talk shows. The stress of litigation, the uncertainty of criminal exposure, and the erosion of privacy take an emotional toll that rarely appears in headlines. Legal battles are long and draining. Reputations can be damaged regardless of verdicts. For many involved, the case became less about abstract charges and more about daily life navigating cameras, school, and community judgment. The Osefo story also highlights procedural realities about fraud investigations. Insurers follow paper trails. Social media posts can be incriminating. Return receipts and timestamps matter. In an era where people document their lives online, digital traces can be powerful evidence. Investigators developed a picture through these traces. Defenders contested interpretations and emphasized nuance. As the legal process continued, the core truth remained simple and stark. Public persona and private actions must align, or a person risks being exposed. The case served as a cautionary tale for anyone living part of their life for an audience. It reminded viewers that the spectacle of television can paper over complexities, and that the laws meant to protect can also be exploited when intentions stray. In the end, the story of Wendy and Eddie Osefo is a study in contrast. It began with an immigrant's child achieving rare academic success and transcending expectations. It included the rise to public visibility and the appearance of stability and influence. Then, in the space between image and record, it revealed a sequence of actions that drew investigators' attention and launched a criminal inquiry. Whatever the final legal resolution, the episode will remain an example of how fame complicates accountability and how carefully private facts are scrutinized in a public life. This is a story about image and consequence, about the way social media and insurance records can tell a story that differs from what fans once believed, and about how the law responds when public performance and private actions collide. The full truth will unfold through court filings and testimony, but already the narrative serves as a reminder. The brighter the spotlight, the greater the consequences when shadows appear. It was supposed to be just another luxury getaway. The Osefos were traveling overseas when, according to their report, disaster struck back home. Their Maryland home, a sprawling property often featured on social media, had been burglarized. At least, that's what they told police. According to their statement, the intruders had ransacked the home, taking jewelry, designer handbags, electronics, and other expensive possessions. Wendy and Eddie claimed tens of thousands of dollars in losses. The story spread quickly. A reality star's home, robbed while she was away? It had all the ingredients for a headline: fame, luxury, and tragedy. Fans flooded social media with sympathy. Friends sent messages of support. And the couple made sure to assure everyone they were okay, shaken but safe. But as investigators began to review the scene, the story started to shift. Something about it didn't add up. There were no clear signs of forced entry. Doors were intact. Windows unbroken. Security cameras, the ones that should have captured every moment, had oddly missed the most crucial hours. The footage they did recover showed normal movement, deliveries, and house activity, but nothing resembling a burglary. Then came the paperwork. Investigators reviewing the couple's insurance claims noticed irregularities. Several of the high-end items listed as stolen, designer purses, luxury watches, jewelry, appeared to have been returned to retailers before the date of the supposed burglary. Receipts didn't match. Serial numbers were off. Some items reported as missing had even shown up in recent social media posts, displayed in photos uploaded after the date of the alleged theft. At first, it looked like a few inconsistencies. But then, as detectives dug deeper, the discrepancies multiplied. The insurance company received multiple versions of the same claim. Each version listed slightly different details, different totals, different items, different dates. The reported value of the stolen goods seemed to inflate with every submission. To investigators, that wasn't a coincidence. It was a pattern. Soon, whispers began spreading through local law enforcement and media circles. Was this really a burglary or setup? Authorities requested financial statements, shopping records, and a full audit of the couple's insurance history. What they uncovered was troubling. Some of the same luxury brands listed in the insurance paperwork had already been reimbursed in previous minor claims. The couple's insurance coverage had recently been increased, just weeks before the supposed burglary. And while their public story painted them as victims, private communications, later reviewed by investigators, hinted at knowledge of inconsistencies long before the police were called. Still, the Osefos maintained their innocence. They insisted that they had been targeted, that someone had broken in while they were away, and that any inconsistencies were clerical mistakes or misunderstandings. But the evidence kept mounting, and what started as a burglary report was beginning to look more and more like a fraud investigation. If you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, because what happens next in this story takes a shocking turn. The picture-perfect couple who seem to have it all will soon find themselves behind police booking cameras, and the evidence against them will leave the public stunned.